Good afternoon. The Memphis and Shelby County Board of Adjustment is hereby called to its regularly scheduled meeting of May 28th, 2025. My name is Tim Rainey. I'm chairman of the board. Mr. Jeffrey Penzis serves as secretary of the board. Mr. Penzis, may I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Bruce.
Present.
Mr. Claybrook.
Here.
Ms. Conrad.
Here.
Vice Chair Savage Selden.
Present.
And Chair Rainey.
Here.
We have a quorum.
All right, thank you. The Memphis and Shelby County Board of Adjustment is the oldest appointed governmental body in Memphis and Shelby County. We were established in 1925. The board hears appeals from the administration of the zoning ordinance, requests for variances from the zoning ordinance, and other requests articulated by local zoning laws adopted pursuant to the enabling legislation. The 8 members of the board are appointed, 4 by the mayor of Memphis and 4 by the mayor of Shelby County, with confirmation by the Memphis City Council or Shelby County Board of Commissioners. We serve without remuneration. At this time, I'd like to swear in the staff. You may remain seated. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God? All right, thank you. Make it a motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting.
So moved.
Second.
All right, moving second. Is there any discussion? All opposed signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Oh, I'm sorry. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, the motion passes. Mr. Secretary, please provide us the Secretary's report, if we have one this month, and then explain the procedure for the meeting today.
Yes, sir, Mr. Chairman. As for the Secretary's report, there are no announcements this afternoon. The procedure for this meeting will be as follows. I will introduce each case as listed on the agenda. Copies of the agenda can be found at the front podium. For each case, the planner with the Division of Planning and Development will give a presentation. At the conclusion of the staff presentation, the applicant will have 5 minutes to present his or her case. After the applicant's presentation, those speakers in support will have a total of 5 minutes. Then those speakers in opposition will have a total of 10 minutes. And then finally, the applicant will have 2 minutes to provide rebuttal. These times do not include time for questions from and answers to members of the board. The chairman may provide additional time provided both sides are given an equal amount of additional time. All parties who wish to provide testimony to the board will be sworn in by the chairman. If a member of the audience wishes to provide testimony in support of or in opposition to a particular case on today's agenda, he or she will need to fill out a speaker's card for the record. Speaker's cards are available at the front podium. Once filled out, speaker's cards can be submitted to any DPD staff member at the left podium. We do not need speaker's cards from the applicants since their names are already part of the record. After all parties have been heard, the board will close the public hearing, make a motion, and then deliberate on the case. If the applicant or any speaker would like to be heard after the conclusion of the public hearing, or if a board member wishes to hear additional testimony from any party, a 2/3 vote is required to reopen the public hearing pursuant to the board's rules of procedure. Please note that once the public hearing is reopened, both the applicant and opposition will be allowed to provide additional testimony and/or rebuttal. All motions by this board will be made in the affirmative. The private acts governing the board require the affirmative vote of at least 5 members to approve an application, regardless of the number of board members present. The board may also vote to hold an application for a period not to exceed 3 months with the consent of the applicant, or 1 month without the consent of the applicant. All section numbers that we refer to come from the Memphis and Shelby County Unified Development Code, or the UDC, which was adopted by the Memphis City Council and Shelby County Board of Commissioners in August of 2010 and became effective on January 1st, 2011. I will introduce the entire UDC and make it part of today's record, thus dispensing with the reading of individual sections. The board is vested with the power to act on these cases before us today on the provisions of Chapter 9.22 of the UDC. Mr. Chairman, I submit that all cases have been filed in proper order, all applicants have been notified of this hearing, and all notice requirements have been fulfilled as required by the UDC.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. At this point, the board will establish a consent agenda. To establish the consent agenda, the Secretary will call out each eligible case. If any member of the audience, staff, or board member objects to a case being placed on the consent agenda, he or she should do so by a show of hands when the Secretary reads that case. Once the consent agenda is established, The board will vote on all cases placed on the consent agenda as a whole and will not hold individual public hearings on those cases. Mr. Secretary, which items on our agenda are eligible to be placed on consent this month?
First, I would just like to note that items 5, 11, and 16 have been withdrawn by the applicants. Item number 2, BOA 2025-13 at 10,011 Humphrey Road as a hold for 1 month. Item number 3, BOA 2025-16 at 3750 and 3754 Park Avenue as approval with conditions. Item number 4, BOA 2024-128 at 1073 South 3rd Street as approval with conditions. Item number 6, BOA 2024-97 at 3286 Fairbanks Street as approval with conditions. Item number 7, BOA 2025-20 at 3485 Denver Street as a hold for 1 month. Item number 8, BOA 2025-25 at 1652 West Belmont Circle as approval with conditions. Item number 9, BOA 2025-43 at 1393 Michigan Street as approval with conditions. Item number 10, BOA 2025-44 at 3657 Rhea Avenue as approval with conditions. Item number 12, BOA 2025-46 at 715 Neptune Street as approval with conditions. Item number 13, BOA 2025-47 at 6622 Kirby Center Cove as approval with conditions. Item number 18, BOA 2025-54 at 837 Big Street as a hold for 1 month. Item number 19, BOA 2025-55 at 1629 Castelia Street as approval with conditions. Item number 20, BOA 2025-56 at 1397 Central Avenue as approval with conditions. And finally, item number 23, BOA 2025-60 at 5275 Summer Avenue as approval with conditions.
All right, thank you. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda as established by the Secretary, which is item 2 as a hold, 3, 4, 6 approval with conditions, 7 as a hold, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13 approval with conditions, 18 as a hold, and then 19, 20, and 23 approval with conditions.
So moved.
Okay. Moved and seconded. I want to remind the board before voting on the consent agenda, he or she affirms that he or she has read the staff report, is in full agreement with the conditions. Mr. Secretary, may I get a roll call, please?
Mr. Bruce,
Yes.
Mr. Claybrook,
Yes.
Yes.
Mr. Love,
Yes.
Vice Chair Savage Selden,
Yes, I find that the standards of 9.22.6 are being met and will not be unduly detrimental to the properties in the vicinity.
and Chair Rainey.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Okay, so the motion carries. So if you're here for any of those cases we just voted on, you've either been approved or held as requested. At this point, we're going to call, if we can call our first case we're going to hear today.
BOA 2024-124 at 400 Fawn Lake Drive.
Okay, is the applicant present?
Yes, they are.
Yes, okay. And is there any opposition here? None, okay.
I'm not sure if the opposition is present, no.
Okay, if you can give us a staff report, please.
This is Alexis Longstreet presenting on case BOA 2024-0124. This property is located at 400 Fawn Lake Drive. It is a request for a use variance to allow limited outdoor storage of 1 recreational vehicle and 1 boat with a trailer on a vacant lot without a principal structure. This property is located within the county. About 25 notices were sent out at the beginning of March of 2025. This property does have a zoning designation as conservation agriculture, as well as its surrounding properties, with a land use designation of currently vacant, but as well as surrounded by single family and vacant properties. Here's an aerial of the current lot in which the RV and the boat sit. And you can see the concrete pad here, and there's a driveway located to the furthest west property line. The applicant resides at 290 Fawn Lake Drive, which is about 0.2 miles from the subject property. And the findings of fact in which were submitted, the hardship in which is present for the applicant, it's not present at the subject property of 400 Fawn Lake Drive, but it is present at the property owner's primary residence, which is 290 Fawn Lake Drive. And here's an aerial view of said primary residence here. And on the next slide, you're gonna see this is the topography hardship in which they stated in the reasoning why they can't park their RV and boat at their primary residence, in which they do own both lots, and which is the reasoning for placing the RV and boat at 400 Fawn Lake Drive. Here are some site photos of the current conditions of the property in which the RV and boat reside. Here are the enforcement case photos, most recent being February 2024. And here is the site plan. As mentioned, there is an existing structure on this property. It is I believe an 800 square foot, would have been at the time, shed in which it was constructed, but it could be as well and shall be demolished, given that its current conditions. And so mentioned earlier, the conclusions outside of the extraordinary feature not being related to the subject property, but rather to their primary residence, there were 2 enforcement cases given for this case, November 2022 and February 2024, in which they received citations of violations for. And staff did not find that there were any hardships in which which would not allow the applicant to abide by the code, and so therefore staff recommended rejection with the following conditions. And that concludes my presentation.
Okay, thank you. Is there any questions for staff? All right, if the applicant will come up. Hayden, if you'll give your name and address for the record.
Yes, my name is David Smith. The address is 290
Okay, I'm going to swear you in real quick. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, tell us about your why you're wanting to keep that there.
Well, sir, I guess stated in some of the pictures of my primary residence, this has been kind of a 3-year process started by a jilted neighbor. They originally tried to buy the 400 property. They didn't. Our bid was accepted. Within weeks of us putting our boat there, we started getting the calls. On that picture right there to the left, what's not being depicted very well is about the 45-degree incline that kind of goes, about 80 to 90 feet down to that shop. Originally, I had the boat before we had the RV, where that white car and that white trailer was. The boat, I used to be able to back it into there. Sketchy. Several instances, I did almost hit the building on the left. That's just with my 5,000-pound boat, just kind of going down the slope. Obviously, when we acquired the RV, that's 40 feet and 15,000 pounds. And if you kept going, it slopes about 45 degrees, about 250 feet down to the water. It is a lake. So we didn't buy the property initially to store our stuff, but after we did acquire it, it was kind of like, hey, this is much safer. We also own a property in Midtown. We weren't going to park our boat and our RV at a rental property in Midtown. We are in the neighborhood. We are several hundred yards from that property on the right, which is 400 Fawn Lake. We kind of stuff is all, it's on a concreted pad, and the whole thing, I can't believe we're even here, is to park our boat, our RV on our property. Of the 25 notices that you saw in your packet, there was only one neighbor that complained. This is the same neighbor that has been creating this 3-year situation that it's put us in here today. Code enforcement did come out several times before, kind of scratch your head, saw the, I guess, vagueness of it all, the head scratcher of it all. If you look at the location of where we're at, we are so far removed. We are 10 minutes from the closest gas station, 25 minutes from the closest grocery store. And there's absolutely nothing north of the property. It's all state park. There is nothing south of the neighborhood. There is nothing west of the neighborhood. And you can see up there the subject property on the left-hand side, we are very well removed. The people that do drive by it are the neighbors. It's the one neighbor that is complaining about this whole thing that's led us here today.
Okay.
And again, if we could park it in our property, I've had code enforcement come to our primary address at 290. They kind of look at us and they're like, because the whole property from the roadside to the house and everything, it's beautiful property, but it just slopes all down to the lake. So it's safety reasons, it's not feasible to park there.
Okay. Are there any questions for the applicant? Okay, I'm going to ask again, is there any opposition here to talk? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
All right, if we could get a motion to approve BO 2024-124 as conditioned by staff.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and second. Any thoughts? It's an interesting theory. It's an interesting theory. Typically, the hardship needs to be in the property that needs the variance. His hardship is his property he owns around the corner where he says he can't park it. So that makes it tough.
What was the other structure was that his property? Is it just
It's an old like utility building, like a nicer utility, but it's kind of burned.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's not really it can't really be used like that. If there was a house on this, he could use the parking, correct?
Correct.
In this zoning, does he have to have a house as the primary use, or could he have a barn or something like that?
So if you had a house, it's simple. If you had a barn, essentially there'd need to be an agricultural use occurring on the property, because then the barn would be the principal structure.
Right. Yeah, I'm trying to think of ways to get around it to make it kind of meet code or something, because I'm having trouble getting to a variance on a big old flat piece of property where usually it's like I'm having trouble doing this here. Can I do this instead? This is just like good for parking, good for a house, good for lots of things in that big old piece. Say that into the mic. What was your?
Thank you. There are cases where sites have issues, and we allow off-site parking because of constraints of the subject property.
Yeah, I don't really.
I mean, I get that the variance is on another property, but I think about driving up and down Benjastown, and I mean, there's all kinds of stuff stored up and down that road.
Right.
I'm not saying that makes it right.
But it's there. Is this a plat? It's a platted lot, correct? Look for something real quick.
Let's see. Yes, page 7 of the staff report.
recorded as Lot 3 of the Fawn Lake Estates as well. And so it's part of the recorded Fawn Lake Estates.
Do you have the plat book and page on that by any chance?
It says plat book 47, page 31, recorded around 1972.
Sir, real quick, I think the plat is on page 7
Yeah.
of the packet.
Sorry, we've closed the.
We've closed that portion, so yeah, I have it up right here. Thank you, though. I mean, I think that it's got a bunch of private covenants on it, one of which is they have to be residential lots, which makes me think the primary use needs to be a house, not a parking pad. You know, if he owned the house right next door to it, he could just combine them, and then it would be a secondary use. It's one of those things where I don't really see a ton of harm to it. I just don't see a path to it through the variance, which is kind of what staff said. Any other thoughts?
I'm with you. I think I agree with staff. I'm trying to give it.
Yeah.
I'm trying.
Yeah, we try to often be creative on finding ways to make it work. I don't see how I can do it on this one. So, any other thoughts before we vote? All right.
Yeah, just have a question to staff, just kind of following up on my comment about off-site parking. Is that strictly for commercial uses, or have there been cases when off-site parking has been allowed for residential land use?
You mean like if you have your building on one site, you say you wanted to park across the street for the required parking? Right, that's generally a commercial situation. And I think it requires like a surface parking lot to be a by right use, even to do that. Which if I recall the UDC, you have to be at least like CMU 3 for that to be a by right use.
Okay.
Thank you.
All right, will you give us a roll call, please?
Ms. Conrad.
I'm in favor of, I'm not sure how to vote, but what staff recommends.
Okay, then you would vote no.
No.
Okay.
Mr. Claybrook.
No.
Mr. Bruce.
No.
Mr. Love.
Yes, I'd like to, I don't know if this is the right opportunity to do this, but I think there's an opportunity to research a little more to find another solution to this. So for lack of my vote going into the negative at this point, my vote is yes.
Okay.
Vice Chair Savage Selden.
No, I find that the standards of the UDC of 9.22.6 are not being met, and this property will be unduly detrimental to the properties in the vicinity.
And Chair Rainey.
No.
Motion fails.
Okay. Motion, you said motion fails?
Yes, motion fails.
Okay. All right, sorry. Good luck. Mr. Secretary, we call our next case, please?
Item number 14, BOA 2025-48 at 3750 Dunn Road.
Is the applicant present?
Mr. Chairman, Secretary, if we could move on to the next one and come back to this one. We're waiting on someone to be here. They'll be here shortly. So.
Okay, so we'll table this one for a second. If you'll call our next case we can hear.
Item number 17, BOA 2025-53 at 309 North McLean Boulevard.
Okay, is the applicant here on McLean?
It's me. Pearson Road. Item 15, Jeffrey.
Oh, I skipped 15.
Okay.
Apologies. Item number 15, BOA 2025-51 at 3557 Person Road.
Okay. So is the applicant here on person? Right there, okay. Is there any opposition? So y'all can go ahead and come down to the front if you want to. Is there any opposition here on the person case? Or Pearson case, sorry. Okay, if we could get a staff report, please.
Good afternoon. This is Masano Stadnia with Planning and Development. This is about a variance for a fence that is exceeding 4 feet height, and it is on the public right-of-way. You can see the location map here and also the vicinity map. Based on the public notices that has been sent, 2 of the neighbors have sent us opposition letters. You can see the zoning map here. The subject property is zoned in residential single-family 6 zoning district, and also the land use map is showing that it is mostly single-family homes and a mixture of commercial, office, and also industrial land use. Here you can see a few pictures of the site. On top corner right, you can see the subject property before the installation of the fence. And the other 2 pictures has been taken by the code enforcement on March 26, when the applicant received a violation notice due to not having a permit for the fence installation and also the exceeded height and also being on the public right-of-way. It is also worth mentioning that one of the oppositions that we received was another property across the street from this, and they also received a public violation from code enforcement, and they took down the fencing. But the applicant decided to apply for this variance. And based on the survey and the proposed site plan, we can see that the survey shows that there has been a 3.8 feet encroachment into the public right-of-way, and also the fence height is exceeding 4 feet. The applicant also is proposing a site plan, which still we can see that there is an encroachment in the right-of-way, which needs to be fixed. Based on all the analysis that has been aforementioned, staff believes that this is going to be injurious and not in harmony with the character of the neighborhood, and also not fair to other neighbors who face the same situation. And staff recommends rejection. However, if board decides to approve, here are the list of the conditions. That concludes my presentation. Happy to answer any questions.
Okay, are there any questions for staff? Just to understand, what would need to do to get this under compliance is where they have the little stair-step fence, that needs to move further back, where nothing above 4 feet is in front of the house, correct?
Right. It needs to be out of right-of-way in the front yard, and also it needs to be reduced the height where it's exceeding the 4 feet.
So, gotcha.
But the part that's under your purview is the height of the fence. The encroachment into the right-of-way is a city traffic, and if they allow it, city real estate via encroachment agreement. So
Gotcha.
the only part that we're dealing with is the height.
Yeah, height on the sides.
Correct.
Is the fence that's not in the right place but in the front, is it already 4 feet? It's just too close to the street?
Correct.
Okay. All right, any other questions of staff? Okay. Hello, if you'll give your name and address for the record.
Hi, everyone. I'm Amara Stewart, and I'm a resident there. I'm the daughter of Alma Barnes. She is the homeowner at 3557 Pearson Road.
Whole truth so you got?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Stewart.
Basically, sir, we began to install the gate in 2023. As you know, we live off Lamar Avenue, which is Highway 78. Lamar Avenue is a very dangerous and busy intersection, and it's high crime and prostitution on the street that we live on. So we put that gate there for safety and security. Prior to me moving back at home in 2023, my mom, 70-plus-year-old veteran, she was living there by herself, and we didn't have that. We had a 4-foot chain link fence to the right of the home, and even with the 4-foot chain link fence, it was extreme trespassing. Also, they had turned my mom's property into a shortcut to Fuller Road, which is behind us in the community. So we installed the gate in the back, and then we installed the sides in the front. So that's why the gate is there, for safety and security reasons. I have videos and I also have pictures. First of all, I have 2 houses on my side that has chain link fences that's right at the front, 4 feet. And my 4-foot fence is in harmony with the other 2 houses on our side. Also, with the survey, I have a picture here that shows that my gate is within its property line due to the property stakes that's right here present in this photo. Also, I'm willing to adjust sirs and ma'ams, but I'm hoping that you all will allow me some conditions, not to go all the way back to the sides of the home, because I have videos and I also have photos of extreme trespassing. The house that you see to the right of our house is a rental property, and people live there no more than 1 to 2 years. In between time, contractors come and they invade on our property. I have a video to support that. Also, contractors to my left, they sometimes invade the property. And so we put that gate there for not only safety and security, but we put that gate there for peace as well. And within the community, sirs and ma'am, there is a gate similar to mine on Margot, which is off of McMurray. We live in that community. I have pictures of that as well. It's exactly like mine's, 4 foot at the front and 6 feet coming down the sides. As a matter of fact, since we put that gate up, many people have complimented us and wanted to know who serviced us. So we brought integrity to the community as well. And so we're not trying to, disobey the law or the rules or the regulations. This is primarily there to keep my mom safe and secure as a single 70-plus veteran.
Show me the picture of the gate. Like, I don't see a gate in these pictures. Can you pass that around?
Are you referring to where the property stake is? And
Is the fence the gate? Like, I think the gate being something that swings open and closed. Do you have it? So just
Sorry.
fence. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And I have property that's built just like mine's on Margate Street, and that's within the community. So that's technically my home is in harmony. If you all would like to see that.
Yeah, if you want to pass some pictures around, that's fine. And so, do you understand what staff is saying about the front fence? Like the issue they have with that?
Well, sirs and ma'ams, if we set that front fence back, it will become a hazard as well as injurious to my mom and I. First reason, sirs and ma'ams, we have landscaping there, and I have a picture of that if you all would like to see that. And that's the second reason is my mom was approved for a safety ramp. We have a ramp that is built to her second side door, and the ramp takes up half the space of the carport area. So if we were to set that fence back, it would further cause undue hardship, and we wouldn't hardly have any parking space. And as I was stating, sir, I have two houses on my side. There's a house to two houses down from me. They have chain link fences 4 feet that's at the front. And we thought we were in harmony. And if you all would like to see that, I would be more than happy to show that to you.
Here's the issue with that. We can only speak to things that we can control. And with that fence, according to the survey, being in the right of way, not on your property, we have nothing we can do about that.
Well, may I say something, please?
Sure.
Pearson is also a commercial area, and it has several businesses on that street. That street was widened before my mom even purchased that home. So, sirs and ma'ams, that to me is outside of our control, that our property line sits at the right of way. That's the unique characteristics of the home. It is small and narrow, and it is also small quarters, where our neighbors on that side is single home. It's a single home on that side of the street, and we are close in quarters as well as close to the right of way. And we don't have the privilege to have additional sidewalks like the other surrounding communities. So that, sirs and ma'ams, is why I'm asking if you all would please allow us to keep our front yard fence.
So what?
Oh, okay.
We're just the wrong group.
Okay.
You can talk to the city about it, but it's just not this board
Okay, yes,
for
sir.
that.
Yes,
So
sir.
they can give you a contact for city real estate. That's who actually owns the property. And I don't know what they'll do, but like, because of where a lot of times in most houses, all over town, the right-of-way for the road is wider than the road. So what I own, when you go, most times, like when I see surveys, the sidewalk is never included, even though you consider that your yard. But they're the people to give you the permission to keep that there. Because the height is okay. That's not a problem. It's just we can't be the ones to say, we're not the spokesman for the city for that. So nothing we're doing today has anything to do with what's going on in the front.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just so you know. So
Yes,
all
sir.
we can talk about really is the sides.
Yes, sir.
So you start, the problem, what they want you to do to get in compliance is move your little stair step further back.
I'm happy to adjust, but sirs and ma'ams, if y'all would be considerate, we don't want to drop it all the way down to the corners of the home, because we have videos and we also have pictures supporting the extreme trespassing in our front yard as well as in our backyard. And if you all would like to see those, I'm happy to show them to you all. We're willing to adjust for the sake of our neighbors. But I just want you all to know we built that with the intentions of peace, safety, and security, and integrity to that community. That community is a dilapidated community. It's very heavy in sex workers and prostitution, very heavy in crime and illegal activity. And that gate was very much needed.
Okay. All right, any questions of the applicant?
Yeah, just real quickly, can you, when you say you have videos of people crossing your
Yes,
property?
sir, I do.
What kind of fence was there? Was there a fence that was a chain link fence?
Yes, sir.
What kind of fence was there at that time?
At that time, it was a chain link fence. And when we had the chain link fence, we had a long time ago when I was growing up, we had a teenage young lady driving to the chain link fence, and we had to cut a portion of that. And throughout the years, it's just the trespassing began to get worse and worse. And we have videos of people going through our front yard and through our carport and in our backyard, using our property as a shortcut to Fuller Road, which is behind us. animals, Rottweilers, German Shepherds, you name it. It was extremely horrible. Is there anything you would like to say, Mom?
Yes. I would like to
Oh, wait, hold on. Before you talk, you can talk, but if you'll give your name and address so I can swear you in.
My name is Emma Barnes, 3557 Pearson Road.
Okay, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
To tell the truth.
Okay, go ahead.
Nothing but the truth. So help me God.
I don't know if that works.
Since I've been a resident at 3557 Pearson Road, I've had a number of atrocities happen. I'm sure if you check any of the police records, you'll see that's a high crime area. Even to this day, we have people coming to our front door, knocking on the door, asking for money. I had to call the dog enforcement people for a number of months and days to try to keep the animals off my ramp. I have fallen on several occasions. I have several misplaced discs in my neck, which tomorrow I'm having an MRI to have it, the second one restored. It's very hazardous to us. And since my daughter moved back home, that's been my only way of getting things done around my yard. I've received several reports of what I haven't done around my yard. So I had the fence installed because on one side of me is Section 8 properties, in which there's been several families in and out, gas leaks, you name it, it has gone on. Whenever there's a power outage, I have to leave my home for the sake of safety. There's a trucking drop yard behind my house in which truck drivers and everybody else make themselves available to my outhouse. I had to have it torn down because of people invading that and using it as a way of prostitution. I've gone through a number of atrocities at that house, and that fence was my only hope to try to live there. I don't have the wherewith to move to a neighborhood that's safe, and I asked my child to come home to help me. And that's the only reason we are here, is because we put up a gate to try to keep safety for me, and it's caused her a number of problems in her life. And the other daughter is wanting to move home to further assist me because of all these issues.
A couple more follow-up questions trying to get at what
I'm sorry, I can't hear you.
So when people were coming into your property,
right,
were they jumping over the fence?
There was no fence there, sir. That's why the fence was put there.
Okay, and
this chain link fence, they were coming over that fence or they had come around, sir. And I have a video here. I can quickly show you.
Well, yeah, so they were coming, when you say coming around the fence?
They come around or over it. In this case, the contractors had a ladder. And they put the ladder over the fence. They put their things over the fence, and they politely laid their things in our yard. Like, it was nothing.
So I guess I'm trying to...
They painted that house you see to the right where the chain link fence is. They were painting that house on our side, trespassing with ladders, with paint. They even had gotten paint all over our yard, over our solar lights, over our plants.
Okay.
And
so can you help me understand why it is you think that a stepped up fence, a fence that increases in height, would keep them out when a 4-foot fence wouldn't? I mean, I know some of the times that people came into your property was because there was no fence there. There is a fence there now, so that it seems to me that should stop the problem. But you're saying that the fence, if it's level at 4 feet, that won't stop them. You're saying that it has to be graduated up. Just help me understand how the graduated fence keeps people out when a level fence want. I just want to understand the difference.
You're asking me?
He's
Or
asking
either
me
one.
The 6-foot fence makes it difficult for people to go over or around. And to be honest, sir, we aren't quite done with that fence. What we would like to do, sirs and ma'ams, we would like to completely enclose my mother in there. So we want to include a gate door because that would strictly ensure, that they can't just get in there with ease. Before this wooden fence, sirs and ma'ams, they were able to get on our property with ease. Our property line falls at the public right-of-way, and it's close in quarters. They can easily just walk up to our door.
Sure.
With no constriction, just walk up to our door. But, sirs and ma'ams, since we have applied that gate, we have seen a significant decrease with trespassing, and I do mean a significant decrease. And if you would like to see these contractors going around and over our 4-foot gate that was there at the time, I'm happy to show it to you.
I think I understand what you're saying. I'm looking at the old time. Used to, there was a 4-foot chain link fence that went between your house and the house to the right.
Yes, sir.
That came into the front yard, and there was no fence on the left.
It was a piece of fence farther to the back.
Sure.
On the left side, and that didn't even stop. And that fence was actually, I want to say, it was a piece of a fence. It wasn't an entire fence. And that was about 6 feet. But it was only a piece, of a fence at that time. And that still didn't stop them. Like I said, they were able to get on our property with no constrictions.
Okay.
And sirs and ma'ams, I'm happy to adjust, but I'm just asking that you all would just place yourselves in my shoes. And if you were residents living off the highway and you had to be subjected to prostitution, crime, people speeding up and down the street, and
a dead-end street.
And it's a dead-end street, and you were concerned about your 70-plus veteran mom who lived by herself, just place yourself in my shoes for 30 seconds and understand the root and the intention was to place that gate there for safety and security. It was not meant for anything else. And since I have placed it there, I have brought integrity to that neighborhood, but I've also brought distraught and unnecessary stress, unnecessary and I'm just asking that you all just consider that.
Okay. Are there any other questions for the applicant? Yeah, go ahead, Mr. Love.
Thank you for sharing that. I know that sometimes some of our neighborhoods can be very challenging. I'd just like to make a couple recommendations. In addition to, I'm going to support your application, but in addition to this, what I would suggest is to think about other security measures. I don't know if you have outdoor lighting, but a lot of times motion sensors that, put light on the site can help as well. So just thinking about other things that you could do to protect yourself and protect your property. Thank you.
Okay, other questions? Yeah, go ahead.
So bringing the height down on the side, you're opposed to doing that because?
Sir, ma'am, I'm not opposed. The only thing I was asking the board is that I don't cut 4 feet down to the corners, from the corners going forward. I'm happy to, bring that slope. You see how the slope is coming towards the front? I'm happy to bring it back, but I'm hoping that you all allow me to bring it back, but not all the way back to the corners of the home. Whatever I'm willing to do to appease the board and to appease my neighbors.
All right, very good. Any other questions? All right, thank y'all so much. I'm going to ask in no opposition to this case today, correct? All right, thank you. All right, if we could get a motion to approve BOA 2025-51 as conditioned by staff first.
So moved.
Second.
All right, okay, so let's look at those conditions. 1 second. So I'm kind of with Ms. Conrad that, like, I think that slope needs to be brought back. Maybe not all the way, and what I think could be a nice little compromise to add a little bit more security around the carport would be that, like, I'm guessing on the distances just on normal fence width, say the 8 feet prior to the carport is where we start to bring it up. So by the carport, it's at the full 6 feet, but the slope starts before that. I thought that's what you were thinking as well. I mean, part of the reasons of that is that we want sight lines. And when we block things out, that's also unsafe. And it's a bigger place for someone to hide in a front yard. I do think that just having the fence there on the front is going to help. We can't really talk about the front because that's not something we can do. But
Fence is definitely a deterrent, and
yeah.
the 4 feet is a deterrent
Yeah.
as well as 6 feet.
Yeah, before that fence didn't go to the street, you could walk around it pretty easily, those contractors. So I'd like to add a condition that I'm going to call it the step up from 4 feet to 6 feet may begin no more than 8 feet in front of the facade of the house. And
So would the intent of that be at the front facade of the house, it's 6 feet, and then the slope starts going towards the street?
So 4 feet in front of the house, it's probably 5 feet. You know, just to give you an idea, like the slope starts and by the front of the house, it's the full 6 feet.
Understood.
And then I'm gonna, I just want to add some, so is there any problem with adding that to our? Yeah, go for it.
I think that's a good compromise. I just wonder, in the reality and the effect of what we see, how different is what you're proposing going to be just visually to what we have now? You know what I mean?
You're going to have 16 feet of front yard that is at 4 feet instead of none.
So the degree of the decline, what are you suggesting that foot for every?
I think it's going to look. I honestly think it'll
push back that post.
Yeah, it'll be 4 feet for the first 16 feet, and then it'll push up the last 8 feet. It's a 24-foot front yard.
Okay. And how far is the distance from the post that we see to the second post as well? Until it starts when it gets to 6 feet.
Just look.
We say about 6
It looks to me, looking at that it's about 3 fence widths. So I'm assuming those are 8-foot sections. So the first 2 would be at 4 feet, and then the third one would be just like that step up that you see there, because that looks like it's a full with the fence. Because I'm sure they just use 2x4s. They're 8 feet long for their other fence.
That front yard just looks, I guess, shorter than it actually is. I just wonder how much that's going to affect, and we have an applicant that's going to have to hire a contractor, come in, cut it down. I just wonder if the effort is worth.
I think 16 feet of yard that's more visible, like having those sight lines, it's a little more in line with the way code would want it. I think it will make a difference. Luckily, it's a saw and It's a saw and a string. You know, the material's already there, so it's really just cutting it back to where it needs to be. And I'll warn you a little bit. You mentioned doing a gate. Gates, you'll have to get that approved on where you place that. You can't put the gate right at the end of the driveway just depending on how it works, like automatic gates can't do that. So just talk to code and they can help you put that in a place that works. So just keep that in the back of your head if you're ever going that way.
And we are setting it, that the format, the compromise we're doing at the 6 feet, right? They can't go any higher than that. The 6 feet on the back.
I mean, they're allowed to do an 8-foot fence, correct?
Behind the front facade, yes.
Yeah, I would just say that they have the 8 feet in front of the facade needs to be a step up to whatever height that fence is. Now it's 6, but I wouldn't say they couldn't put in, if they ever want to make an 8-foot fence back there. I'm not trying to mandate them to have only ever a 6-foot fence. I don't want to take any right away from them.
So that front yard is 20, how long?
24.1 feet to the front facade.
Okay, so just thinking about it from the back of the sidewalk to the house is 24 feet. So what you're proposing is 8 feet from the house, which leaves 16 feet. And at that 16 feet, that's when it starts to drop at an inch per foot.
Whatever it would be, yeah. I don't know the maths. Any other thoughts on that? Okay.
And so are there no objections to Chair Rainey's amended motion?
No objections?
Just making sure.
You ready to vote, Mr. Love, or do you want to think some more?
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
It sounds like a reasonable compromise. Fine, we can vote with it.
Yeah. I mean, I got to think about the neighbors.
Yeah.
Of like you walk out and you have a fence taller than you're supposed to that's blocking your light and air and sight lines that are there by code. So that's why.
I get it.
Yeah.
And, sometimes fences can, like you said, be something to hide behind as
Yeah.
well. So,
And we had our guy last month's meeting that had like a interesting chain link fence, and he wanted it to be very see-through, even though it was tall.
yeah.
So you've never had to worry about somebody being behind the fence. So there's, bad guys can think of ways to do stuff with just about anything.
Absolutely.
All right, so could you give us a roll call vote, please?
Mr. Love,
Yes.
Ms. Conrad,
Yes.
Mr. Claybrook,
Yes.
Vice Chair Savage Selden,
Yes, I find that the standards of the UDC of 9.22.6 are being met and will not be unduly detrimental to the properties in the vicinity.
and Chair Rainey.
Yes.
Motion carries.
All right, and we, ma'am, we have your pictures. We'll have somebody run these pictures down to you, okay? All right, thank y'all. If we could call our next case we're going to hear today.
Mr. Chairman? Okay, so we had some late opposition on item number 19. It was BOA 2025-55. And we have contacted the applicant's representative, and they are okay with if you were to pull it off consent and hold it in order to next month's meeting so that the opposition could speak.
Okay, do we need to go ahead and just vote on that now? Would that be best?
Yes.
Okay, so can we get a motion to remove item 19 from the consent agenda and have it on hold for 30 days?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion carries. 19 has been held. All right, next case.
Perfect, thank you. Item number 17, BOA 2025-53 at 309 North McLean Boulevard.
Okay, is the applicant present?
Okay, they want to go back to number 14 because we have an interpreter here for the people on 14.
Okay.
Okay, so item number 14, which is BOA 2025-48 at 3750 Dunn Road.
Okay, I saw the applicant come down, I believe. Is there any opposition here to this case? All right. So if the applicant will just be ready, Mr. Waldrop, if you'll give us a staff report, please.
Good afternoon, Nicholas Wardrop, Planning and Development. Thank you for your patience with the scheduling, mix up here. This is a request at 3750 Dunn to extend the board's previous 2-year approval of a chain link fence. So, as you likely know, chain link fencing, generally speaking, is prohibited in our residential zoning districts, sort of flat out. The fence in question was built illegally in around about 2023, late 2022. The board did approve a variance in April 2023 to allow the fence for 2 years. Now those 2 years have elapsed, and so the applicant is seeking longer-term or perpetual approval. Here you can see an image of the fence in question. It's a typical chain link fence. We are recommending rejection on this, making some specific findings. The first is, you go back and you watch the video of the board's April 2023 meeting. It's very clear that the intent was not to approve the fence as much as it was to simply allow the applicant additional time to bring about its removal. Additionally, we don't find any changes which have occurred in the vicinity which would undermine the board's original intent 2 years ago, and we're recommending, therefore, that you stick to that intent. Additionally, the UDC is intentional in its prohibition of chain link in residential zoning districts, and allowing this fence in perpetuity would risk undermining that intent. Again, you go back and look at the video from 2 years ago of the last time this was before us. It's clear that board members had some reservations about, other neighboring property owners seeing this fence and just assuming that a chain link fence is allowed. So, that's a concern that we echo, and again, we recommend that you maintain your intent from 2 years ago and reject this application. Finally, we do want to note that the conditions of the previous approval required the fence to be painted black. As you can see, as of March 31st this year, it had not been painted black. So here's an aerial of the site. You can see it. This is a pretty typical residential lot. And with that, we are recommending rejection. However, if approved, we are recommending you simply re-up your conditions from 2 years ago, which are on the screen here, particularly that the fence only be allowed for 24 months. With that, I'm available for any questions.
You said that at our prior meeting, we voted for its removal. We allowed them to have it, but was that the long-term intent for them to remove it or bring it up to?
Yes, so the board did approve a variance to allow the fence, albeit with condition 4 here, that variance would expire 24 months from approval. I think if you go back and watch that video, it's clear the intent was, we're not approving the fence, even though you did technically approve it. We're giving the applicant an additional 2 years to remove it or replace it with a conforming fence.
Thank you.
Chain link fences, they're not allowed anywhere in residential now, or just not in the front?
They're not allowed in residential zoning districts.
Okay.
So one small caveat, a chain link fence could be allowed in a residential zoning district, provided it was green or black, vinyl coated, and part of an evergreen landscaping system. So that is one caveat on that, but generally speaking, no, they're not allowed.
Can you repeat that? You said provided there's green and black, what?
Provided they were like PVC or vinyl coated in green or black and part of an evergreen landscaping system, they could be allowed. But other than that, no, they would not be allowed.
And in the front yard, it would be a maximum of 4 feet of height. I only say that because this one was taller as well. But the one here is clearly uncoded.
How tall is the one here? 6. Okay. All right, any other questions for staff before we talk to the applicant? All right, if the applicant will come forward and say your name and address for the record.
Ahorita ya. Mi nombre es Cristina Calmo y mi dirección es 3750 Dunn Avenue, Memphis, Tennessee, 38111.
I will be translating for her. I'm a planner. Basically, she said her name is Christina Sanchez and her address is 3750 Dunn Road.
Truth and nothing but the truth. Yes, okay. All right. If you'll ask her to kind of tell us why we didn't get the fence fixed and all that fun stuff.
So prácticamente te están diciendo que no creen que te deben de probar la cerca simplemente porque te habían 2 años, pero en este caso durante esos años no hiciste la comisión que tenías que pintar la cerca. Entonces ellos están recomendando que te nieguen. ¿Hay algo que quieres decir?
Pues mi pregunta es si queréis que me ayudan de si se puede quedar la cerca, yo puedo pintar, porque el motivo es de que se accidentó mi esposo en ese momento que me cayó la ciudad y se accidentó, él le operaron la cabeza y ya. Y de ahí nos olvidó todas las cosas que hasta mis cortes fui a decir que no podía porque...
¿Y es la razón por qué no lo pudiste hacer?
Porque se accidentó mi esposo, se revolcó en el carro y se quebró la cabeza.
So recently, I actually helped with this case. So basically, she's rephrasing everything that she said to the previous meeting. The reason why she's not able to take down the fence is because her husband had a head injury, and she has just been going through struggles ever since then. So she wasn't able to paint the fence, or, and she really just wants to keep the fence. ¿Cuándo pasó el accidente?
El 14 de febrero de 2022. Y ese momento.
February 14, 2022.
Okay. Or before. Okay. Are there any other questions for the applicant?
Están haciendo que si quieren preguntas.
Is there a reason that the fence can't be removed now, or is there another way to get the fence removed without your husband?
Hay más razones en las que la razón es porque la cerca no se puede quitar todavía o porque no la has quitado.
Bueno, en ese momento porque nos fuimos por el lado donde nos fue, entonces yo ya no me acordé si me dijeron que 2 años, ya solo 2 años el término de la cerca, solo me dijeron que sí, que podía pintarlo, pero se me fue la mente y ya, ahí ya nos recordamos hasta que llegó la carta otra vez.
Y original había
refused to put this item on a further agenda due to a lack of appealable administrative decision, that the subject application is both inaccurate and incomplete, both of which violate the board's rules of procedure. The fact that despite the fact they're seeking the board's intervention, the application was not submitted as required by the board's own rules. And finally, that the application seeks to have the board interject itself into an issue that will ultimately be decided by the courts. And with that, I'm available for any questions.
Are there any questions for staff at this time? All right, thank you very much. All right, I'm going to have Mr. Winchester come up first. I have several people here in opposition. I have some that, I don't know if they're in opposition or not, they didn't mark it. They're just not marked. But as far, the only two that I show in opposition on the card are Sue Moran and Rick Winchester. Ms. McLean, you're in opposition, so it just wasn't marked. I'm assuming everyone else is, but so all to say, we have 10 minutes. And so however y'all want to speed it up.
I have some documents that I'd like to pass to the board.
Perfect. Yeah. Mr. Ragsdale will help you do that. And then I'm not going to swear Mr. Winchester in. He's an attorney, so he'll be speaking on behalf of people. Right. And then whenever you're ready, and do you want to leave time for other people to talk? Do you want us to like say it's been 5 minutes or anything like that?
If you could tell me when I've got 8 minutes, so we reserve 2 if we need it.
Thank you, sir.
Very well. My name is Richard Winchester, 7515 Corporate Center Drive, Germantown. And this is a somewhat unique situation in that you are getting advice from the Division of Planning, which we allege were the people who committed this error. In addition to that, the property was conveyed to the Brooks people by the city of Germantown.
The thing was proper is what we're trying to decide, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And then if we decide that, then we have to go, they would then be able to appeal.
That's correct. So I would suggest that any testimony about the appeal, their appeal would be not relevant to this.
Okay.
First of all. Secondly, they have misstated the issue for today. We, at the last meeting, we raised an objection about it not being put on the agenda. This board voted to put it on the agenda. They are now saying that that has not happened and that all this is about whether it ought to be on the agenda, I guess for next time. I don't know. As far as the application, they had that in hand at the last meeting because they rejected it the first time, they accepted it the second time. Now, what are we arguing about today? There was a building permit issued. What was the basis for that building permit? The basis for that building permit was that the Division of Planning had conducted an administrative site plan review. That is a requirement in this case. That was found by Mr. Skinner. He said they're required to have an administrative site plan review because of the density of the property. The Division of Development has published a document that says what has to be filed for a administrative site plan review. Two of those documents are as follows. One of them is an owner's affidavit. There has to be an affidavit that we own the property. Second requirement is that they have to file a source deed. How did you get the property? In this case, whoever approved this administrative site plan did it on the basis, number one, of an owner's affidavit that's one of the documents in the packet that not only was not notarized, it wasn't even signed. It was the form, but it was not an affidavit. That's one of the requirements. The second requirement is a source deed. In this case, the deed that was filed for the administrative site plan review was a deed that conveyed property that the pyramid is located on. We have put in your docket and your packet a copy of the original deed that was filed and a transcription because the original deed's hard to read. But the point of all that is that if you look at the deed, it conveyed property that was north of Market Street, which was well north of Union Avenue, where this property is located. So what you have is you have the staff purporting to do an administrative site plan review based on an affidavit that's not filled out and based on a deed to property that has nothing to do with this property. Based on those documents, somebody approved this administrative review, site plan review, and it was submitted to the building people for the issuance of a building permit, which was done. At that point in time, it became actionable, and this appeal was filed. Now, the suggestion has been made that this should have been appealed to the Joint Board of Appeals. Well, that's really, really interesting because there is no Joint Board of Appeals. There used to be. It used to have 17 members, 4 of whom were technical people, and the other 13 were appointed. Well, all of their terms have expired. There is no chairman. There are no members. And that's who we're supposed to take this appeal to. Well, the error that led to the erroneous issuance of the building permit was a function of the planning staff who approved the site plan, the administrative site plan review that was deficient. Who owns the property? Look at the affidavit.
Mr. Chairman, again, I don't think we're in the path of deciding whether or not the secretary rightfully rejected the appeal. I think there's a lot of discussion about the appeal itself and the merits of the appeal. So that's not what the question is before the board at this point.
Okay. All right, good.
When will it be my turn to give you advice? Your Honor, Mr. Chairman, not once has anybody on the staff suggested that an error was not made. If they now take the position that you can just file the owner affidavit form without filling it up, then I think I'll start changing the way I do business. I'll just file the form. If the source deed can be a deed to property that is not even relevant to the site where the building permit is sought, then why have that requirement? The building code gives remedies for when a mistake is made leading to the erroneous issuance of a building permit. says that the building official can suspend the effectiveness of the building permit. What we are asking this board to do is to find that there was an error in this whole process. That's not been denied. And that as a result of that error, a building permit was erroneously issued, which was timely appealed. And we would ask that the building permit be suspended until such time as the applicant for the building permit complies with the requirements for obtaining an administrative site plan review that the staff can then review, and if they find it in good order, they can approve it and they can resume the building permit. So we're asking this board to simply suspend it until these errors and deficiencies can be corrected. Any questions?
2 minutes left. Yep. Anybody have any questions yet? We'll move on to further opposition with those 2 minutes, and then we'll see if we
here that shows, here's the site that's at issue. There's the property that was the subject of the deed that was recorded, that was filed. This is the pyramid property. This is the subject property down here. I'm sorry, are there any questions?
have some.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so we got 2 minutes left.
Okay.
Do we know who wants to speak of these cards that I have? All right, go ahead. And if you'll give your name and address for the record for me.
Just 234 West Edwin Circle, Memphis, Tennessee. And I just wanted to,
If, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, go ahead.
About finding an error in the process and deficiencies. Do you guys have access to the Unified Development Code right now? Can y'all look at it right now? Is it accessible to you right now? Can you look at section 9.12.2? I can quote it for you. It's the purpose underneath the administrative site plan review, and it says, the administrative site plan review process assures that careful attention is given to site design to ensure compliance with the codes, ordinances, and resolutions related to land development and building construction. So, I mean, if correcting things, I just wanted to say that in support of finding error in the process. That's all I have.
Teague, I believe it was. None? Okay. We still have a little bit of time, I think. About a minute or so, if anybody else wants to talk. 2 minutes of rebuttal time as well, just so you know. But you go ahead. Yeah, I'm not trying to prevent you from speaking your mind.
Okay. I'm against the building being built where it's being built. My name is Sue Moresi. I live at 1967 Wood Chase Cove, Cordova, Tennessee, 38016.
Okay.
But it's Memphis, not Cordova.
All right, so let me swear you in. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Okay, go ahead, Ms. Sue.
Good afternoon. I object to building this building or any building that blocks my view of the river, which is one of the few things downtown Memphis has going for it. Clearly, to me, if this building is built blocking the view of the river, other buildings will be built. The river is beautiful, and making it impossible to see is a mistake. Also, I'm not sure the museum won't flood. The fact that it's being built on land not owned by the museum and actually in trust for people like me just makes it worse. Thank you for this opportunity.
We got to exactly 1 minute if somebody else wants to speak at this time. I was gonna go to opposition. I was gonna go to rebuttal after that, if that makes it, okay. Go ahead, Mr. Winchester.
With regard to what's at issue today, when we were here last month, we were here based upon the rules of this body that allow us to come before the body and ask that something be put on the agenda for the next meeting. That's what we did. We did not file a new application. The application had already been filed. We did not do a new application challenging the decision of anyone not to put it on the agenda. We based that on the rules of the body, not the jurisdiction of this board to correct erroneous decisions of building officials.
I'm going to give you all 2 minutes and 25 seconds in rebuttal. We have a little bit of time left. And then I believe somebody's here from the city to talk in opposition to this appeal.
Shannon, I'm attorney for the city and for DPD staff. Let's clarify a couple of things very quickly. What we're here on today is the rejection by staff of the appeal application filed by the Mr. Winchester and his clients. As you may recall at your last hearing, what the vote actually made by the Board of Adjustment was to, quote, hear more on. You did not overturn at that point in time the rejection of the appeal by staff. So that is what we are here for today. Nicholas has already gone through exactly the correct bases by which the Secretary rejected the appeal. The one thing, the couple of details I'll add very quickly is from everything Mr. Winchester and the other speakers have said, they keep referencing the ASPR. And that was, as Nicholas referenced, approved in 2024. They could have appealed it to the Joint Board of Appeals or to this board in 2024. It's far too late for that now. And then lastly, just to kind of clarify the record, there was reference to litigation. What that is Chancery Court litigation between the Friends of Our Waterfront and City of Memphis and the museum nonprofit. And just for the record, that is CH 23-1108 in the Shelby County Chancery Court. And that is ongoing litigation that hits on exactly the issues presented in that they attempt to present in this application. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else here to speak in opposition to the appeal? Okay, Mr. Winchester, you have 2 minutes and 25 seconds for rebuttal.
Okay, first of all, with regard to the litigation, different issue, different attorney. The issue in that case is ownership of the property. The issue before you today is whether an error was made in the administrative site plan review, which ultimately culminated in the issuance of a building permit. A building permit based on a source deed reflecting property that has nothing to do with this piece of property, based on an affidavit that wasn't an affidavit at all. It was a form. It was a form. It wasn't even signed, much less notarized. And again, nobody has said that an error was not made. And it was a fatal error. It led to the issuance of a building permit that based on the absence of an affidavit and a source deed. That deed refers to property north of Market Street, which is the pyramid property. So again, all we're asking this group to do is suspend the issuance of the building permit to allow the applicant for that building permit to do it right, to include the documents that are required. Very simple. It's what they should have done the first time. As far as saying that we should have appealed back in September, at that point in time, number one, there was no way for us to know anything about the administrative site plan review, wasn't anything we were given a copy of. And number two, it did not result in any actionable event. There was no harm at that point in time. The only harm occurred when someone started building a building on property that was not accurately reflected in the application for the building permit and never was the subject of an appropriate site plan review. Thank you all.
All right, thank you very much. So this is very interesting for us. We don't get cases like this very often in what we're doing, so we're making our way through it. If we don't have any questions of them, do we just need to get a motion and then discuss, correct?
Let me ask Mr. Winchester.
Yes, absolutely.
I understand the staff is saying that all we're considering today is the staff's decision to not put this issue on the agenda for the Board of Adjustments. Sounds like you're saying something different, that we ought to be considering another issue. Can you what issue should we be considering today, and why do you think that? I just want to make sure I understand your, yes, sir, Mr. Winchester. I just want to make sure I understand your position.
Mr. Bruce, I guess that depends on who you ask. Again, one of the jurisdictions of this board, as you know, many of what you do is variances, but you also can hear challenges to whether a building official made an error or not. That is not, that is what we have alleged, but as far as what we were here last month about, it was based on not your jurisdiction, but rather a rule of this board that says if we disagree with a decision not to put something on the agenda, then we can bring it to the next meeting and ask that it be put on the agenda for the following meeting. And that's what we did. It was not based on that. Our application is based on the error, but when we were here last month, it was based on our effort to try to just get it on the agenda, get it heard. Does that make sense? I think staff would have you think that we're here today talking about whether it ought to be on the agenda. I would take the position that that decision was made a month ago. Thank you.
What now?
Request a short recess.
You run to the restroom? Okay. Oh, gotcha. Okay. Okay. So if there's no other questions for staff right now or board, I think we need to get a motion to approve the appeal.
So let me be clear on what we're voting on. We're voting to, we're voting to approve, are we voting to hear the appeal at a later date, or are we voting on the appeal today? And I know what staff says, but I just want to make sure we're on the same page here.
I guess I'm with you. Are we voting on whether or not the staff erred in not allowing them on the agenda?
That's what I believe we're voting on.
Okay.
The staff's decision not to dock it. And then we could hear the appeal of, their application for the error itself.
Would we hear that today or another week?
I think it's possible we could, if we get past the first hurdle of whether or not, should it have been docketed to begin with based on the rules.
I got you.
Yeah.
Okay.
So so what we're voting on is just on the appeal of the secretary's decision not to put the item on the docket. And then there may be more, depending on the answer to that, we have more decisions possibly. Mr. Love.
Thank you. So with that, thanks for bringing that question up. I'm still a little foggy on it. So the appeal is based on there being an error in the submittal of the administrative site plan review.
Yes, but before, I think we need to get the motion on the floor. We never actually had the motion to approve the appeal of the decision of the secretary, and we also need a second of that.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, and now state your question again, sorry.
And forgive me, I'm trying to, I read over the staff report and I'm still a little foggy. And I think both the staff and the applicants has explained things as best they could. But the question that I still have kind of circling my mind is, the first one is an error in the application for administrative site plan review? Is an error there justification for an appeal? That would be my first question.
Of a building permit.
Correct.
That's really what we, the two opposing sides, I believe, one side, let's say the staff, is saying, no, all you can appeal is that last building permit we did. And you had 14 days to do that. But as far as the underlying thing that was decided in August, that was settled. Whether we made a mistake or not, that was already done and it had been approved for that address and site plan, whether or not it had the correct legal description with the deed and stuff like that. Kind of like a res judicata. Like that was decided.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe it was decided wrongly or with some bad information, but it still was decided. There was a different process that was way past due to appeal that decision.
Mm-hmm.
That's what staff would say. What the applicant would say to that is that, how are we supposed to know when we could appeal that? That's kind of done without us really seeing it. I don't know if that's necessarily how those are done. Administratively. And then there was no harm until a building permit was issued. So even though it was decided, like, well, it wasn't the thing we could really know about and do something on, didn't really happen until February. Those are the two things. That's what I believe that's what the opposing arguments are.
So staff's, and I'm saying that as I'm asking to make sure I understand staff's argument. Staff's argument is that they had the power to not put the appeal on our agenda if the application for appeal was incorrect or incomplete. They're saying it was incorrect or incomplete, so they had the authority to not put it on the agenda.
That's part of what they've said. I think they've also said it just wasn't timely because what they're really appealing is the ASPR, not the building permit. That's where the bad information of the builder, whoever the owner of the property was provided there, not necessarily in the building permit, but because it was based on through the poisonous tree, I guess, based off the ASPR.
Okay.
I will say I feel woefully underqualified to figure this out, but we're doing our best.
And I'm reading the rule. So what we're deciding is the ruling of the secretary in error. That's it. And the rule also says that if we do find that, then The application shall be placed on the docket at the next regular meeting, So I guess it comes down, do we accept their arguments that the application was inaccurate or incomplete, and the argument, not timely? Do we accept those arguments?
Right.
That's what we're deciding.
What have you decided?
The arguments on incomplete and inaccurate sounded reasonable. They made sense to me. And I do think, as far as timeliness, if there's a 14-day, it's 14 days from the time the permit was, I got to go back a little bit, 14 days from the time the permit was issued, right? And where is that? It was issued, if it was issued, that's a set time, August 24th, so that expired in September. I don't know how that part is debatable, unless I'm missing something.
And so in that debate of untimeliness, that in and of itself makes it not qualified to be able to do it, right?
Which is something, yeah.
That's one of those, if I'm supposed to check the box on all items and I'm missing one, that's still disqualified. Am I correct?
That's what it looks like to me. So just based on that alone, it sounds like we can't hear it. There's nothing to hear.
And we did not time it. So that's why we're trying to get something in court, and it says, 11:59, which 12:01. Good efforts, but they're not going to let us have the case. It's dismissed, it's discontinued, best of luck doing something with it. So I guess for me, if we're supposed to check all the boxes, we did.
Yeah, there's a lot of things that are decided and go on and stuff.
I hate it, but we've been there. We've all had to. We missed the deadline, miss a plane, you're not there in time. They're gonna close the door.
Yeah.
Look at this wrong plane. I went to the wrong gate. Sorry, you missed the plane.
Okay, any other thoughts before we vote? Okay. All right, you'll give us a roll call vote. So a vote of yes, just so we're clear, would mean that the secretary made a mistake in not allowing the appeal. And a vote of no would say he was correct in how he interpreted the appeal process. All right, if you'll give us a roll call, please.
Mr. Bruce?
No.
Mr. Claybrook?
No.
Ms. Conrad?
No.
Mr. Love?
Abstain.
Vice Chair Savage Selden?
No.
And Chair